I'd like to call this meeting of the Piscataway Township Council to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231, PL 1975, specifying the time, date, location, login, or dial-in information, and to the extent known, the agenda by posting a copy of the notice on the municipal building, municipal court, and the 2 municipal library bulletin boards, municipal website, providing a copy to the official newspapers of the township, and by filing a copy in the office of the township clerk in accordance with certification by the clerk, which will be entered in the minutes. There will be public comment periods for both remote and in-person attendees separately. Each member of the public shall only have one opportunity to speak during each public portion. As the technology does not allow us to know if there are multiple callers on an individual phone line or logged-in user account, we ask that if you wish to speak, that you log in or dial in separately so that we can recognize you as a separate individual. Should you have any further comments or questions, the Township Council is always available by email and phone, and you can always call the mayor's office during normal operating hours. Ms. Mitch, would you please take the roll call?
Councilwoman Carmichael.
Present.
Councilman Espinoza.
Here.
Councilwoman Lombardi.
Here.
Councilman Rouse.
Here.
Councilman Shaw.
Here.
Councilman Urin.
Here.
And Council President Cahill.
Here, would you please join me in a salute to our flag? To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That'll bring us to number 5, which are comments from administration and council regarding adjournment of any matters on this agenda.
None.
Okay, seeing none, that'll bring us to number 5. Number 6, this is open to the public. This is comments regarding item 13, which are the consent agenda items. And this consent agenda item does include the vote for the moving of the Board of Education elections to April. So with that, we will now open it up to the public for those who'd like to comment on item number 13. And for these comments, we'll always start with our remote attendees. So for our remote attendees, if you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments or questions. Just a reminder that if you are a remote attendee, you would press *9 on your phone to speak. Raise your hand if by Zoom app.
Council President, I am not seeing any individuals with their hand raised.
Okay, so.
Okay, somebody did just raise their hand. I'm going to ask them to speak.
Hello?
Go.
Yes, please go ahead. Speak, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
Yes, Ralph Johnson, 39 East Burgess Drive, Piscataway, New Jersey. Hello, everyone. Hello, Council President, Mayor, and all those attending. I just wanted to get a little clarity. I saw a lot of buzz on social media, and I'd just like to present it to all of you here in terms of item 13Z, in terms of moving the election from November to April. I just kind of wanted to get some clarity from whoever could speak onto what was the rationale for moving so. Was there a change because of ineffectiveness or a change for improvement? Is there a cost associated with this? And just what are the pros and cons of it so we can make an informed decision? That is all.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Johnson, thank you. Well, I know we're going to have a lot of folks speak tonight, so we might want to answer them all at one time, but I'm happy to answer Mr. Johnson's question right now, as it looks like he was the only remote attendee to raise his hand to ask. There were a lot of things that went into the discussion about this amongst the council people in light of this last November's election, including trying to make this election less partisan. But there were other items too. But I want to offer more time for the folks who are here, since there are a lot of folks here, to speak, and then we can all address them sort of like all at one time, so everyone gets an opportunity to speak their mind. So with that, we're going to close the remote public portion attendee, and we're going to open it up to the folks that are here in person. So if you're here in person, if you wish to speak at this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. You may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council or administration will then respond if necessary.
Hi, my name is Nancy Grabellia, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of Joseph Toma, who's the president of the Piscataway Education Association, 31 Stelton Road. Dear Piscataway residents and members of the Piscataway Township Council, at the conclusion of the Board of Education meeting on December 12, 2024, the Piscataway Township Education Association was surprised by a message from the Township of Piscataway, where the Town Council has decided to vote on a resolution to move the Board of Education elections to April in an effort, as the township claims, to prevent partisan politics from being in play. The Piscataway Township Education Association believes this resolution to be unnecessary and believes it is something if something's not broken, there's no need to interfere. We believe that when considering changes that impact schools, we would hope that the stakeholders would be asked for their input as it affects our children in the community. Why waste resources and tax dollars on having a separate election? Holding New Jersey school board elections in April presents several drawbacks. First of all, there's low voter turnout. April elections often see lower turnout participation compared to the general elections held in November. With fewer elections in April, the focus may be on local races rather than school board matters, leading to lower engagement and voter awareness. Secondly, limited public awareness. The timing of April elections outside of the major election cycles may result in fewer media resources dedicated to informing voters about candidates, school budgets, or important local issues. This can leave many voters uninformed. Thirdly, conflict with spring break. Many schools hold spring break during April. Families are traveling or they're disengaged, reducing the likelihood of participation by parents and guardians, who are the key stakeholders in the education process. Budget constraints. School boards may struggle with making important decisions about budgets and other major educational policies if voters aren't engaged or aware of the stakes. School boards may also lack full participation of the public in key decisions. Disconnection from the general election issues. Having school board elections in a separate month from larger elections means voters may not connect to these races to the broader statewide or national policy discussions. This disconnect could undermine the perceived importance of local educational decisions. In summary, April elections lead to lower voter turnout, reduced public awareness, and logistical challenges, all of which can impact the effectiveness and the legitimacy of school board elections. Our children are watching. We should be an example for them and make inroads to work collaboratively as opposed to divisive behaviors. We trust the council will err on the side of collaboration, and we eagerly await for your decision as it will speak volumes to the community. I'm going to ask that this council bifurcate Resolution Z of the consent agenda and vote on it separately so the residents of this community can see how the members of this town council stand on this specific issue of great importance to this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Veer Patel. I live on 52 Justice Street, Piscataway, and I'm here in regards to, again, Section Z, which should be its own separate vote, as previous speaker said. But I'm here to not represent anybody else. I found out about this issue, and I believe that like the argument that's being made that these elections are becoming too political is inherently flawed when such elections should in nature have a healthy debate. Let me ask, is it not political when a mayoral candidate appears on the very same brochure as such school board candidates? Who bears the burden of creating such political and like polarizing elections? Furthermore, if I learned anything from my education in Piscataway, is the worth of diversity, and differing viewpoints and intense discussion is at the bedrock of not just a strong school board, but a strong democracy. And let it be noted that the school board elections at this time would also negatively affect voter turnout, which, you know, I believe is, you know, it's really important for school board elections to have these have this kind of notoriety brought to it, because with it not being part of like a larger election, being separate in April, it's gonna hurt voter turnout, and people are not gonna know about it. And it's really important for not just like Piscataway parents, but for students. And you know, my brother, I can speak on behalf of my brother, my peers, Piscataway parents, they deserve better. And in addition, it will also increase accessibility, considering that, you know, instead of having to go again for a separate election just for this one issue, having these elections combined allows for, you know, people to be able to voice their opinions on multiple things without having to show up again and having to go through this process, which is arduous. Many people do not have the time or availability, especially because national elections are generally, you know, given time for people to go vote. And you know, I just want to culminate all my points within saying that that Piscataway students and Piscataway parents deserve better, and this attempt at trying to silence people and twist elections is not going to go unnoticed. And I just ask that we do better. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your
Good
comment.
evening. I'm Reverend Henry Kenny. I live at 1 Sterling Drive, apartment 102, Seniors Building in Piscataway, New Jersey. I hear what you have to say. I hear it all. I'm nonpartisan, and I just wish you well.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Viola Stone, 134 School Street. I'm actually speaking on behalf today for Laura Lieberitz, who is a longstanding educator in our town, and she will be sworn in as our town council member. And she writes, "I am writing to indicate my opposition to the moving of the Board of Education elections from November to April. Laura is a longtime educator, and she has made a difference in voter engagement between a standalone spring Board of Education election and a November date. Spring elections bring significantly lower voter engagement. They are very expensive, and they also infer that the education system is not part of the community and its success. This municipal body points with pride to our township's higher voter turnout This indicates our voters believe that vote matters and they turn out to make their voices heard. There has been no inclusion of the educational stakeholders in this discussion, and a decision of this multitude with significant impact on one of the most important services the township provides, which should be addressed in consultation with key investors in the system. Strong schools make us desirable for long-term homeowners. This election change shortens the terms of current board members who are serving our community well. We have stable education administration team. We have highly rated and well-run schools. Our current board members have recently completed several hours of professional development and are confident in and are certified in a New Jersey Board of Education. Thus, the date change would not only shorten the length of the board, but it would also shorten the length of the term of the board members who have been instrumental in establishing and maintaining an integral for our schools. Also could weaken the strength of our stable and strong educational programs. Thus, this change is definitely unnecessary. Our township has a strong and stable education system that adds significant value to our town. The municipal government should leave well enough alone and continue to work for the betterment of our township and other more needed areas. Sincerely, this is Laura Lieberwitz, Town Council at Large, member 2025 through 2028. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Radford, 13 Dunbar Avenue. I'm not going to take up a lot of time, but I just want to chime in on the things that people have been saying. It feels really disingenuous, some of the things that this council is saying, where you kind of say that you want to make it non-political and nonpartisan. When that letter that I see written back there, it really rankles me the way that this council seems to communicate with the community members here. So I hope you're listening. I hope you're hearing that we're saying we're not in agreement with the way that you're running things, and we would really like you to reconsider making this resolution. I would like to hear some data. I'm a scientist. I'd like to hear some numbers here to say that this isn't going to cost us a lot more money. This isn't going to drive down voter turnout. This is going to some way make our schools better, because isn't that what the Board of Education is about? And I don't feel like I've seen any of that information, so I'd really appreciate you guys actually commenting back to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chantel Cherry, 34 Wagner Avenue, Piscataway, New Jersey. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the board and my concern for you wanting to change the elections from November to April. I'm not here about the cost. I'm not here about nonpartisanism. I'm here about the safety of the students. Currently, our calendars are built in where we are closed on general elections. Therefore, none of our students are in any of the buildings that are all unlocked, open for anyone to come and go as they see fit. If we change our elections to April, that's not in our calendar. Therefore, we're putting every student, all 7,400 of the ones who attend school in Piscataway, in harm's way. Because guess what? The doors are unlocked, and all we preach about is safety. Kids first, safety. Opening the doors in April for an election is not safety. That's just someone getting their way, but they're not thinking about the outcome of the students and the dangers that this imposes. Having an election in April serves no purpose because your change does not relate to what's going on in the district itself. Now, if there was a discussion where it was presented and came forward before our calendars were all created, which has also been created already for 25, 26. And therefore, guess what? April's not listed on there either for us to be closed. We intentionally close our buildings so that we do not have our students inside our elementary schools, inside our intermediate schools, walking around with total strangers that they don't know. You cannot put enough security in a building to protect students who are going to restrooms that are in hallways. You cannot protect the students who are changing classrooms. I know, because you only have one guard at the door. So what are we going to do about that? If you change elections to April, how are we going to protect the students? That's all I have to say.
Is it possible to get a copy of the resolution? Because there was a lot of paper over there, but there wasn't any actual copy of the resolution, and it's not on the website, which I think is a violation, but I just want one whenever you're,
The council has it. I mean, it's just, it's very simple. It just,
well, maybe someone could read it. Or someone could have printed it, or somebody could have put it on the internet. I know that the former council president, who's not the council president anymore, once told me that you can't put everything on the internet, but turns out she was wrong. Is it, I mean, I don't mind giving my time. I'm happy to wait if you want to read it, so people know what, because it's not available anywhere. People were asking for it.
Go ahead, Ms. Berger, finish your comments and we'll read it after.
Oh, okay, I didn't start my comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Stacy Berger. I live at 233 Ellis Parkway. Here are some things the Piscataway Council could be doing tonight. You could be assisting constituents who are being evicted or facing homelessness. You could be organizing an expungement clinic like many other towns for our residents. You could be providing DACA recipients with legal assistance like lots of other towns in New Jersey are doing. You could be helping the residents in the Possumtown neighborhood who had terrible issues with construction in their area, including open flames, air pollution, possible toxic chemicals outside their homes. They tried for weeks to get your attention, but they couldn't. You could be passing a municipal ID program for individuals who need that to get documents to access vital services. You could be calling on our U.S. senators to oppose Trump's most dangerous, unhinged, lunatic nominees. But instead of doing any of those things, or really anything at all, to help protect our vulnerable neighbors and people in need, you're making up reasons to move the school board election to April. And I guess we should be glad that you're finally being transparent, because everyone can see what this move is actually about. It's a pathetic attempt to hold the election when there are fewer people likely to vote. We get it. You're tired, and tired of losing. You lost the last 5 elections and got swept in the last 2. There's an easy solution, though, and it doesn't involve having the schools have to close or do anything else. You can just stop endorsing candidates. Moving the election won't stop the Piscataway Democratic Organization from running candidates in April, will it, Council President or Councilman Espinoza? You two are the chair and the vice chair of the only political party in our community that makes actual endorsements, and you could simply just stop this behavior now. You won't, though, because you don't actually care about nonpartisan elections or unity in the Democratic Party like you claim. You just don't want anyone to contest for power with you. That's what elections are about. At a time when democracy is under attack, we should be encouraging voter engagement and making it as easy as possible for people to participate. Instead, you're playing one of your favorite parlor games, petty vendettas and election rigging. You're good at it, in order to try to win seats on the school board. But for what? Our school board, led by the Putting Kids First slate, is an award-winning, certified board that runs a tremendously successful district. You could learn some things from them, because when your folks were on the board, they got sued multiple times and they lost. Our schools are great, and we know you know it, because you never miss a chance to show up and take a picture. Our schools provide our children with a top-notch education and rich cultural experiences. They make Piscataway a desirable place to live, and they employ many of our residents. Moving the election won't stop people, including me, from campaigning in support of candidates who are committed to doing what is right for our kids. But you'll do whatever you want tonight because you don't believe in putting our kids or our taxpayers first. You're putting yourself first instead of basic democracy. So let me be very clear. We will continue to support candidates who represent the shared values of our community. You can move the election. You can attack us and our allies with hate, with Islamophobic hate and anti-Semitic tropes. You can put fake questions on the ballot and have to pay our attorneys. You can try to remove duly elected school board members like Ralph Johnson. You can gerrymander 18,000 voters in Piscataway to save a council seat and try whatever other tricks you want, but we aren't going anywhere. We live here and we have every right to run for office as much as you or anyone else does, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Gina Register. I live at 78 Riverview Avenue. Thank you for letting us speak tonight. As Democrats, we should be working together to increase voter turnout. I am highly concerned that moving the school board election from November to April will lead to voter fatigue that will most likely reduce participation and community engagement. It can also be seen as implying voter suppression, which is contrary to democratic principles. The notice sent to the Board of Education from your legal counsel states The Township Council believes that this proposed change will better serve our community by fostering a nonpartisan environment. Interestingly, before the 2023 election, I was at an event that most of you were at. One school board candidate was allowed to get up at that event. No other candidate was offered that opportunity. This election, I have seen PDO Facebook posts with council members standing with Board of Ed candidates. I have seen mailers endorsing column 1 Board of Ed candidates with pictures of council members on the opposing side. So I would like to know, how does moving the election to April, spending taxpayer money to do so, and more importantly, interrupting terms of certified board members, foster a nonpartisan environment? And how will an April election discourage or prevent partisan displays like the two I've mentioned, and there's others? Thank you.
Thank you.
Costas Efthymios, 58 Curtis, Piscataway, New Jersey. Nice to see some of you people here again. That tree got hit again. Negligence is there. Let's not go too far. Look at the parking lot
Sir,
outside your house.
sir, I'm sorry. We're talking about item
We're
number,
talking about Piscataway.
right, number 13.
Thank you, hon. Please.
Number 13
I need
items.
to finish my thing.
Did you want to come back during the
It's just
public
been
portion? sir?
resurfaced
It's
a
okay.
year ago. Now it's a mess. Ugly. Those cherry trees along the street are choking on their support straps. That being said, property maintenance has tremendous negligence, and you don't care.
Thank you. Please state your name and address and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
TJ Trevetti, Lunar Street, Piscataway. Heard a lot of different perspectives here. I'm actually, I would say, in favor of the council's resolution for this, to move it to April. I agree in the sense we're moving the school board election to a nonpartisan election cycle. This is what we've asked for in order to, as residents, in order to take the politics away from anything to do with our kids and in our school system. From my understanding, this was a tradition about 9 years ago when it was changed to the November general election. The school board 9 years ago, they were the ones who moved it to November rather than letting it remain in the nonpartisan election in April. When politics get involved, things tend to get chaotic and sometimes hostile. And that's the last thing we need for a school board race. Even personally, this past November cycle, completely didn't appreciate certain members running up to me in the parking lot and telling me who to vote for instead of just simply going in there and voting. So I think we should all do the appropriate thing tonight and keep politics away from the discussion pertaining to the students and what goes on in the classroom. That's all I got. Thank you for the council for giving me an opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jessica Cradaville. I live at 1247 Brookside Road here in Piscataway, and I just wanted to come up and speak about the item Z about moving the school board elections. It would come at a cost to the taxpayers, which is completely unnecessary, and it seems like the council is taking a leaf right out of former Governor Christie's playbook by moving an election to make it politically more convenient for them to hold on to power. So I'm sure all of you remember when Senator Lautenberg died, and 4 years previous, Governor Christie said no responsible governor would hold a special election to fill Senator Lautenberg's vacated Senate seat. And then when it was convenient for him to have Democrats come turn out at the special election he held at the cost of $10 to $12 million to New Jersey taxpayers, he did that. So I guess you find yourself in very interesting company. I think that this is very transparently self-serving for this organization. And I would urge you to please put voters and taxpayers and our children ahead of your self-serving ideas. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Irwin, 233 Ellis Parkway. Nice to see you, Nancy. We managed to antagonize the union. That's shrewd politics. There's been a lot of good points made in opposition to the resolution item we're discussing, so I'm not going to belabor them here. I will note there seems to be some confusion between the concept of partisan and the concept of contested. Partisan generally refers to like a battle between Republicans and Democrats or political parties. Contested is just a lot of people running for office. And that's what we have in the school board elections. We haven't actually had, last year, I guess for the first time, there were a few candidates backed by the Republicans, but that was sort of a one-off over the course of the last 7 years. So that's not like actually what's happening. So we can dispense with the notion of partisanship. In terms of political and education, all elections are political. That's what elections are. You think people run in a nonpartisan manner in the school board, but they don't have points of view. There's plenty of people that want to ban books. That's a political point of view. There are political points of view expressed in every school board election throughout the country. All right? Politics is part of democracy. It's part of elections. It always will be. And these elections will be contested, I would expect. And moving them to April will not change that. It'll reduce voter turnout for sure. We all know that. Outside of that, I would say that moving this through in a lame duck session before the seating of a new council is a bad look. Putting it on the consent agenda as though, it's already a done deal. There's already consent on it, been discussed beforehand. That's an even worse look. And doing something that affects another elected municipal body without, consulting them at all, just by fiat, is the worst look of all. In a democracy, government derives its legitimacy from the consent of the governed. The governed are able to give or withhold their consent at elections. That is when they can speak. So in addition to this being generally a bad look, it's a bad idea. It breeds divisiveness and antagonism at a time when détente is what is called for. And effort should be made in that direction instead. So when you ask yourselves, at an election, why is this being contested? Why are people running against me? Perhaps in a primary. Why are they withholding their consent for me to govern? Look to things like this.
Thank you. Hi, sir. Please state your name and address and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
No problem. Hello, my name is Courtney King. I live at 231 Bexley Lane, Piscataway, New Jersey. Hello, Piscataway in front of me. Hello, Piscataway in back of me. I think Piscataway is a awesome and beautiful place to live. I grew up in New York City, and then I moved out here, and I haven't been happier since I've been living out here. And I believe that a lot of the decisions that were made in the council and on the school board have made this town what it is today. I believe that the council members and the school board should do whatever they can to work together in order to continue to push the town in the right direction. Changing what has been working, to me, doesn't seem like a good idea. I'm currently on the school board. We are a certified school board. Every time we go to different school board conventions, we are the superheroes. We are the ones that everybody goes ahead and says, look at that school board. That's what you have to try to be like. So if that's working, why change it? That's all I have. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for your time. Please state your name and address and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Salgado Cowan. I live at 124 Stanton Avenue, Piscataway, New Jersey. I, like Courtney, am a current school board member. I ran with Courtney 3 years ago, and this decision to put it on your consent agenda for the council to move school board elections is going to disenfranchise, at the very least, the current board members that are up for election, such as Courtney and I. And you will notice that I am the only representative of Latin heritage on our school board. And I find it disheartening that any council member or persons of this town would wish to shorten the time of the one and only representative from that diverse group in our school board. Secondly, as stated by Courtney, we're doing really well, right? We have gone to a certified school board. We are working towards excellence at every chance we can. School board volunteers, and I say volunteers in case anyone in the public doesn't know, we do not get paid as opposed to some other elected officials. We do not. We are the only elected officials in the state of New Jersey who volunteer our time and our dedication for the kids of Piscataway. I've run under the banner of putting kids first. You know why? Because I do. The reason I'm late to this organization meeting tonight is because I work as a pediatric nurse practitioner, and I was working until 7:45 this evening. Was I supposed to get out at 7:20 or 7:30? Sure. But because I take my time and I care about children and the needs of children and families is why I stay, I do my work. It's why I volunteer and I stay and I do the work at the school board, okay? For no money. And actually, it actually cost me money to become an elected official in Piscataway. Did you know that? So that's interesting. I don't get paid. I work a lot. And one would wonder, why would one want to do this job? And my mother often wonders. So wait, you don't get paid, Nancy? No, Mom. I get paid in my heart. I get paid in the smiles. I get paid in the fact that our children are striving and achieving in ways that they have not in the past. I get paid in the fact that that gap for COVID is smaller and smaller each year. I get paid in the fact that children's bellies are being fed because we have a breakfast program that we have never had free breakfast ever before. So yeah, you know, I get paid in other ways, in higher ways. And at the end of the day, I find it very suspicious at best for why the council would want to move this election. They say to make it nonpartisan, but I do want to take note, in case anybody here doesn't know, the only person who has made the school board elections, you know, political is our very good Brian Waller over here, who actually endorses 3 candidates every year. Every year, our lovely mayor, he endorses them. It's in written literature, it's online, it's in the Instagram. So it's nothing that nobody here knows. I'm just making sure to put it on the record that whom is making a political statement about school board is certainly not me, okay? Because I'm here for the kids, and that's why I put kids first.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Council. Pratik Patel, 29 Redwood Road. I'm coming here not as a Democrat or Republican. I'm coming as a parent because I had 2 kids who went through the school system. They have rave reviews about Piscataway school system. I know Tom, I know Dr. Baskerville, I know Chantel, and many other folks who just talked about the school system today. It is awesome. Kids love it. The way I measure this is when my 11-year-old comes home, I ask him, did you enjoy every day in the school? The answer is yes. Now, if you're going to talk about changing this election or calling it as partisan or something like that, it's not warranted. I think if somebody wants to grab political power, I can understand if the system is not working. That's not the case. I think we have a very functioning, good school system. I know principals to teachers, and I've visited the schools and their engagement and their responses, whether they come in phone or email, or when kids have issues, when you go to them, they're awesome. So I don't think this change is needed right now. And in terms of when people talk about democracy, let me tell you this, public trust today in democracy is all-time low. And it's because of Democrats who try to claim to be autocrats and try to rig the elections against the public to foster their agenda and saying that we are running this republic. The other thing I've realized in this council and many other governments in New Jersey is many leaders who are grooming up to their position, they're becoming shallow thinkers. They're not deep thinkers. They don't have strategic vision like our founders had. They never sat on the chair, or they never ever come into the neighborhood and talk with the people what their real issues are. Ms. Carmichael, if you have to vote today, I would expressly say no, because our school system works, and regardless of what position or what agenda started or your nomination starts with, because people say, hey, election is a way to make change. No, it's starting with nominations. So people have hijacked the nomination process. So we are not having fair elections, and it's not good for this country. And the sooner we turn, the better off we will be, and the sooner our leaders think strategically versus tactically and have open communication. I have asked many times how many projects that you are going to run with our budgets to be presented online, and let people talk about it. Look, we agree to disagree on a lot of things, but at least transparency is a way to think. Teachers union, none of the principals have ever talked about this election. So unless there was some petition that was floated, I found out at the last minute. So I really don't know how this agenda is driven to move this election, but that's not the way to run any form of governance. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address and note
My
that
name
you
is
have
Gail
3
Nelson,
minutes.
1125 River Road. I've been on both sides of the coin, so to speak. I ran with the team that lost this year, last year, and I ran with Putting Kids First this year. Way different experience. But I'm up here to say, what's done in the dark comes to the light. To hear someone come up to this microphone and say that only one person from our team last year was able to speak at a meeting that I knew nothing about, and I'm sure Talaha didn't know anything about. So you want to talk about teamwork, you want to talk about putting kids first, let's be real about it, okay? I am really pissed off, and if you think you're going to shorten my term after I walked in canvas grassroots style, you are sadly mistaken.
Anyone else, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
Prashant Patel, 52 Justice Street, Piscataway, New Jersey. Good evening, council members, Councilwoman Lombardi. I strongly oppose moving the school board elections from November to April. This is a solution in search of a problem. The current system works, voter turnout is highest in November, and the Board of Education has earned recognition as certified board for its leadership. The school board is supposed to be nonpartisan, focused on our children and schools, yet elected officials, including the mayor and council president, have actively politicized this election. This past election alone saw multiple campaign flyers endorsing candidates under their name. Changing the election date isn't about reducing partisanship, it's about consolidating power, suppressing turnout, and wasting taxpayer dollars. Let's respect the voters and keep school board elections where they belong, on November ballot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, if anyone has not seen the flyers that people get in the mail, Here, it's endorsed by mayor and their party. And this was another flyer, came in the mail. You see one side is mayor and council president, and other side is the 3 school board candidates that they were supporting. So they're the one who's politicizing this. As elected official, they shouldn't be endorsing school board candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. State your name and address.
Hi, this is Margaret Doyle Ball. I live at 77 Hancock for over 40 years. Have seen major changes in this town in these 40-plus years. And the Board of Education has always come very high on my list. I have 4 children that have excelled in the school systems here. And I just am astounded when I read just a couple days ago that you'll be changing an election, shortening people's terms, costing us more money. In April, we know darn well, even at the primaries, very few people vote. So in April, I don't expect we'd have a very good voter turnout. But I don't know how a decision has already been made. It sounded like we were told we can come and speak our mind tonight, but I feel like the decision's been made. And I really am very, very upset that this has not been discussed with the current Board of Education members, with the different educators in our town, and that a decision is going to be made tonight. It's just astounding to me that this can be done so underhandedly. And I don't feel it's fair to the people of our town. And I'm just very upset by it. I could go on forever, but I just really hope and pray that you will not make this decision tonight.
Hi there, I'm Jackie Fritz. I'm at 104 Curtis Avenue. So I just wanted to say that I agree with, I think, almost everyone that has spoken before me. There's really nothing new to add. The highlight, I guess, is what's the reason, right? And so the reason is that I'm hearing is to make something that may have seemed unbalanced and to, I think, the original comment was overly partisan, an election that was overly partisan, I guess fairly partisan, and just everybody's comments have been so to the point. There's nothing to it except for the one gentleman who's for it, which I don't get. But you know, what's the data? Overly partisan. Where's the data that supports overly partisan? And then I've had the pleasure to work as a teacher in Piscataway for 31 years. So the reason why I'm here right now, obviously you've made your decision. It's very clear, it's insulting, but I am here for our board because our board is amazing. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure to attend the convocation at the high school. It's amazing. As educators, we felt very supported over the past few years, and you're going to do what you're going to do, but we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Sid Madison, 176 Blackford Avenue. I'd like an answer to the question, is this basically a first rather than second type of resolution? In other words, I always thought that resolutions went through the first thing and then they get voted on the next time. Is that what's happening?
That's an ordinance, Mr. Madison. Is there anyone else in the public wishing to speak? You may do so at this time. This is regarding any item on item number 13, which are the consent agenda items. Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the in-person public portion on item number 6 for the consent agenda item number 13. Will bring us to number 7, which is an ordinance on second reading, fully funded $1,735,000 plus various equipment, open to the public, and it is a resolution adopting ordinance. Ms. Mitch, would you please read the resolution?
Be it resolved by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Appropriating $1,735,000, $1,712,000 of which is from the general fund balance, and $23,000 of which is from the Capital Improvement Fund, to provide for the acquisition of vehicles and equipment in and by the Township of Piscataway in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, was introduced on the 26th day of November 2024 and had passed the first reading and was published on the first day of December 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforesaid ordinance, having had a second reading on December 17th, 2024, be adopted, passed, and after passage be published together with the notice of the date of passage or approval in the official newspaper. Be it further resolved that this ordinance shall be assigned number 2024-41.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch. And this is also open to the public. Anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item may do so at this time. Please come, we'll open it up to the public who are remote first. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have the 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments or questions.
Council President, there's nobody with their hand raised for this item.
If there's anyone here in person who'd like to speak about, this is item number 7. You may do so at this time. Please come to the podium, state your name and address. Know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments, and you may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council or administration will respond then if necessary.
We were wondering if you were going to actually read the resolution, which we'd asked for.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I kind of moved on to the next thing awfully quickly.
Yeah, we know. We were wondering if you could please read the resolution.
That was my oversight. Sorry about that.
Everyone's human. No problem.
Okay.
I don't actually have I don't have a public comment on this particular
item.
I mean, I can if you want me to spend 3 minutes. I'm certainly happy to stand up here and make something up. But if you could just read the resolution, that would.
I will. I'm going to open it up for anyone else on this item since I moved forward. This is for item number 7, and then after that we'll move forward, and I'll also make space before number 13 to address some of the questions and some of the comments that folks had here. So please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. For number 7, Pratik Patel, 29 Redbird Road. Just one question. I think in one of the past few meetings, I'm sure you're buying some cars and whatever. Is this budget also including some trenching equipment that sometimes that needs to dig up pipes where you don't have to dig up the entire road? Or that's not part of this line item? And the second question that I have is this coming from the land taxes or the state taxes that are appropriated? Which line, which budget, state or land?
Thank you. Hang on one second.
Thank you.
Tim, did you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, so this included in this is a roll-off container truck, garbage packer truck, a 10-ton truck with salter and plow, and a wheel loader.
Any trench equipment that you don't need to dig up the roads?
No.
So that was actually requested, but nothing happened.
Yeah, I don't know. We have different bond ordinances. We've been doing bond ordinance.
So when a
for the
public
past couple
requests
months.
something, you ignore it totally?
If there's no one else wanting to come up to the podium to speak publicly on item number 7, then I'll open it up to the council for a vote. Do I have an offer?
Councilman Ern, offer.
Okay, I think I have a first and a second. Ms. Mitch, would you please take the roll call vote?
Councilwoman Carmichael?
Yes.
Councilman Espinoza?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilman Rouse?
Yes.
Councilman Shaw?
Yes.
Councilman Ern?
Yes.
And Council President Cahill.
Yes, thank you. And that ordinance passes on second reading. Okay, now just, we're not going to move on to number 8. I'm going to read the ordinance as requested from one of our residents. Be it resolved, whereas by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that whereas the Township of Piscataway, the township is authorized under New Jersey state law to determine the timing of school elections, and whereas pursuant to NJSA 1960-1.1, school elections may be held either in November to coincide with the general election or in April as a standalone election, provided that the Township Council adopts a resolution approving such change. And whereas holding school board elections in April allows for a distinct focus on school-related matters, including issues of education policy without the influence of broader partisan political dynamics, which are attendant to November general elections. And whereas the Township Council believes that moving the Board of Education elections to April will better serve the community by fostering a nonpartisan environment where the focus remains on matters directly affecting the school system. And whereas notice of this resolution has been provided to the Board of Education and the superintendent. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Piscataway, hereby authorizes moving Piscataway's Board of Education election, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education elections in Piscataway shall be adjusted from November to April, commencing with the 2025 school board elections in accordance with NJSA 1960-1.1. And be it further resolved that this resolution be transmitted to the Middlesex County Clerk, the Middlesex County Board of Elections and/or Superintendent of Elections, and the Piscataway Municipal Clerks and the School Board Secretary or Secretaries, the Department of State, Division of Elections, the Department of Education's Executive County Superintendent, and the Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Government Services. And that is the reading of the proposed resolution for tonight with regard to moving the Board of Education elections from November to April. So what we'll do now is we're going to move through regular business, and before we come to number 13, we're going to address some of the questions and comments that have been raised here tonight by residents. So that'll bring me to number 8, which is an ordinance on second reading. This is fully funded $2,100,000 street and road improvement projects. It will be open to the public, and it'll be a resolution adopting ordinance. Ms. Mitch, would you please read the resolution?
Be it resolved by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Appropriating $2,100,000 from the Capital Improvement Fund for various improvements in and by the Township of Piscataway in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, was introduced on the 26th day of November 2024 and had passed the first reading and was published on the first day of December 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforesaid ordinance, having had a second reading on December 17th, 2024, be adopted, passed, and after passage be published together with the notice of the date of passage or approval in the official newspaper. Be it further resolved that this ordinance shall be assigned number 2024-42.
Council President, if I may, this, as you know, this is the money to put in place for the reconstruction of Balance of Summershade Circle and Boxwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And now we're going to open this up to the public, and we'll start with our remote attendees. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments or questions.
Council President, there are no remote attendees with their hand raised for this item.
Okay, so we're going to close the remote attendee portion and we'll open it up to the public. For anyone who is here in person, if you wish to speak at this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. You may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council or administration will then respond if necessary.
Yeah, hi, 29 Redwood Road. The question is in that 2.1 million. Is there any appropriation for speed bumps on Sutton's Lane or any of that? Because I know I've talked numerous times with Ms. Carmichael. Did that entry ever made it into this budget, or now we have to wait another 2 years for these numbers to come in? Because this is not something that if you're planning for budget and somebody raised an issue, I would rather have this to be a line item either talked about in the budget, whether there's shortfall or where can we get the money from. Because there is plenty of money with gasoline taxes that goes all around. And if we are not getting our fair share, then probably when you guys are elected and you're not getting fair representation in Trenton, you should ask why. Thank you. So again, the question
Thank
is,
you.
probably the answer would be no, correct? Is there a money for that speed bumps on?
This is the money for Boxwood Road and Somerset Circle, the reconstruction of the streets.
This particular resolution is not for that particular road.
Do
This
we
is for
have anything in
Boxwood
this
or
year's
something.
budget for the Stelton improvement?
Well,
Sutton's Lane is ongoing with the reconstruction out there. We're dealing with the utility companies. They still have to move several poles out there. Until that happens, we can't move forward, so.
Okay, so it's work in process.
It definitely is, and we always wait for the utilities to put theirs on so that they don't cut a brand-new street.
Completely understand, but as long
Okay.
as it's not falling through the cracks. Thank you
No.
so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the public wishing to come and comment with regard to item number 8 may do so at this time. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the in-person public portion for number 8, and I'll open it up to the council for a vote. Do I have an offer?
Offer, Councilwoman Lombardi.
Do I have a second?
Second, Councilman Espinoza.
Thank you. Ms. Mitch, would you please take the roll call vote?
Councilwoman Carmichael.
Yes.
Councilman Espinoza.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi.
Yes.
Councilman Rouse.
Yes.
Councilman Shaw.
Yes.
Councilman Ern.
Yes.
And Council President Cahill.
Yes, and the ordinance passes on second reading. That'll bring us to number 9, which is also an ordinance on second reading. This is authorizing acquisition of Block 11317, Lot 23.02. It is also open to the public, and it is a resolution adopting ordinance. Ms. Mitch, would you please read the resolution?
Be it resolved by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Authorizing the Acquisition of Property Identified as Block 11317, Lot 23.02, in the Township of Piscataway, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, for public use pursuant to NJSA 20:3-1 et sec, was introduced on the 3rd day of December 2024 and had passed the first reading and was published on the 8th day of December 2024. Now therefore, be it resolved that the aforesaid ordinance, having had a second reading on December 17th, 2024, be adopted, passed, and after passage, be published together with a notice of the date of passage or approval in the official newspaper. Be it further resolved that this ordinance shall be assigned number 2024-43.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch. And now we're going to open it up to the public for the remote attendees for our public comment portion. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments or questions.
Council President, there is nobody with their hand raised for this agenda item.
Okay, seeing no hands raised for the remote attendees, we'll open it up to the public who are here in person. If you wish to speak at this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. You may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council or administration will then respond if necessary. Again, this is regarding number 9. Okay, seeing no in-person public questions, we'll close that public portion, and I'll take it to the council for a vote. Do I have an offer?
Councilman Ern, offer.
Do I have a second? Okay, thank you. Ms. Mitch, would you please take the roll call vote?
Councilwoman Carmichael.
Yes.
Councilman Espinoza.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi.
Yes.
Councilman Rouse.
Yes.
Councilman Shaw.
Yes.
Councilman Ern.
Yes.
And Council President Cahill.
Yes, and the ordinance passes on second reading. And that'll bring us to number 10, which is an ordinance on second reading. This is authorizing acquisition of Block 303, Lot 17.01. It is open to the public, and it is a resolution adopting ordinance. Ms. Mitch, would you please read the resolution?
Be it resolved by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that an ordinance entitled Ordinance Authorizing the Acquisition of Property Identified as Block 303, Lot 17.01 in the Township of Piscataway, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, for public use pursuant to NJSA 20:3-1 et sec, was introduced on the 3rd day of December 2024 and had passed the first reading and was published on the 8th day of December 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforesaid ordinance, having had a second reading on December 17th, 2024, be adopted, passed, and after passage be published together with a notice of the date of passage or approval in the official newspaper. Be it further resolved that this ordinance shall be assigned number 2024-44.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch. And this is also open to the public, so we're going to open it up to our remote attendees. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing star 9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press star 6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments or questions.
Council President, there are no remote attendees with their hand raised for this agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch, and I'll open it up to those who are here in person. If you wish to speak at this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. You may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council administration will respond if necessary. Hi, Mr.
Hi. Just a question. What was the price of this? And was there like an auction process? Did the bank did appraisal of this when this was purchased, or like how did the transaction went through? Can you just elaborate a little bit more?
So this authorizes us to begin the negotiations. It's a very small piece of property in the center of a piece of property that we already own by the Arbor Firehouse. So we're just acquiring this little piece of property within our piece of property so that it's all ours. So this allows our attorneys to begin negotiations.
What was the price per square feet for the land acquisition?
We don't know. We have to do an appraisal and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the authorization to allow attorneys to go negotiate.
Okay, but we don't know the price, or like, it wasn't listed on anywhere.
Not until, but that'll be back here once that happens.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that when anything gets listed, there is a price that is put in upfront so that everybody knows about it. And I understand that for eminent domain or public use, you can acquire that land. I completely understand. And if that's the case, that's a different story. But I've seen many times where the lands are just taken, and then when I look at the assessment data, which you guys, as a resident, when you put that data for us, I don't think so we are treated right in dealings. Thank you.
So just to clarify, value of the land, a fair market value from an independent appraiser.
Bank appraiser.
Independent appraiser, not bank.
That independent is selected by the council or by the bank?
We have to pay them, yes, but we select them, of course.
I would
We
rather
have to
have
pay
it by
them.
bank, because that's
But-
when I go for loans, that's what they do.
But they're an independent appraiser, so.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public wishing to comment may do so at this time. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. Okay, seeing none, no hands raised in the public portion, we're going to close that, and then I'll bring it to the council for a vote. Do I have an offer?
Offer, Councilwoman Lombardi.
Do I have a second?
Second, Councilman Espinosa.
Ms. Mitch, would you please take the roll call vote?
Councilwoman Carmichael,
Yes.
Councilman Espinoza,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi,
Yes.
Councilman Rouse,
Yes.
Councilman Shaw,
Yes.
Councilman Ern,
Yes.
Council President Cahill.
Yes, and the ordinance passes on second reading. And that brings us to number 11, which is an ordinance also on second reading. This is authorizing execution of financial agreement with IDIL 1551 South Washington Urban Renewal LLC, Block 5301, Lot 14.04, which is 1551 South Washington Avenue. It is public, and it is a resolution adopting ordinance. Ms. Mitch, would you please read the resolution?
Be it resolved by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township of Piscataway, County of Middlesex, New Jersey, authorizing execution of financial agreement with IDIL 1551 South Washington Urban Renewal LLC pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law, NJSA 20-1 et sec, was introduced on the 3rd day of December 2024 and had passed the first reading and was published on the 8th day of December 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforesaid ordinance, having had a second reading on December 17th, 2024, be adopted, passed, and after passage be published together with the notice of the date of passage or approval in the official newspaper. Be it further resolved that this ordinance shall be assigned number 2024-45.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch. And so now we're going to open it up to the public for the remote attendees. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments or questions.
Council President, there are no individuals with their hand raised for this agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch. We'll open it up to the folks who are here in person. If you wish to speak at this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. You may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council or administration will respond if necessary.
Hello again, Bill Irwin, 233 Ellis Parkway. I didn't know this one was on the agenda tonight. Forgive my ignorance, I was busy with the holidays and such. So this, let's see, adopting ordinance, execution of financial agreement. So if I wanted to find the financial agreement, like ahead of the meeting, I was on the township website now, sort of, trying to look through it real quick just to see what was going on with it. Where would I go to?
The agreement, the actual agreement? But
Yeah, the agreement.
You could submit an Oprah request for it.
I could submit it. Oh, so, I mean, that seems like a hoop to jump through. The internet's a big place. We could just, put that out there in advance.
It's, all document requests go through the township, go through Oprah, as everybody knows. I'm sure you've made a few requests
certainly
yourself.
I've made Oprah requests
So,
in the past. I'm
just
putting forth the
clerk will get it
modest
to you
proposition
relatively
that
quickly.
Since we can publish stuff on the internet because it's so large, that we don't make people jump through those hoops. We just put it out there. And the second resolution and the first resolution and, and all that stuff. So, all right, given that I can't read it currently, often these are for payment in lieu of taxes programs. Is that the gist of this one?
Yes.
Gotcha. Oh, look at that. Somebody did put it on the Oprah machine. It's right here. How about that? Okay. Could you answer what percentage of the payment in lieu of taxes? Because I know, with pilot programs, sometimes revenue just goes solely to the municipal budget, although sometimes it can be divvied up as they normally are. So which one of those is this? Is this solely to the municipal budget or a divvy up between all the various entities that, have the percentages that you publish in the newsletter?
So a portion of the revenue always goes to the school district. It's not, again,
Well, a portion.
we could
portion of
discuss
the revenue
pilots.
from the land only.
We could discuss pilots, at another time, and I can tell you the benefits of it. But yes, I don't have the
familiar with
agreement in front of me,
them.
so I can't tell you the percentage.
Right, generally, a portion of the land assessment only on a pilot project automatically goes to the school board. And that's generally a very sort of tiny sliver of the overall payments. The annual service charge constitutes the bulk of the payments, and those don't automatically go to the school board. So I guess at the end of the day, it would be easier for all of us, particularly in light of this, somewhat curious letter that came from Hoagland that I guess you wrote about 190 South Washington Avenue, although I presume that means 1690 South Washington Avenue, because that's what's referenced here. It'd be helpful if we could get an accounting of all the money that's being taken in from the service charges, the annual service charges for the pilot programs, and where it's going percentage-wise. Not the land improvements, service charges.
So you can make an Oprah request, but other people have actually made those Oprah requests already, because I've had to review them and send them out. So yeah, you can make the Oprah request and you'll get that information.
Okay, well, if you've already reviewed them and sent them out, surely you have the information at your fingertips.
I'm not sure specifically what's been requested or what hasn't. I know some have been. I don't know exactly what your request is going to be. So, happy to submit it and then I'll review it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to send it in. I can probably do one myself. All right, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Nancy Grabelli on behalf of the Piscataway Township Education Association, 31 Stelton Road. In particular with this ordinance, how much of this pilot program is going to be designated to go to the school district?
That's the question that was just posed.
Yeah, well, if you're passing the ordinance on the second reading, then you should have those numbers available. And you should know exactly how much money should be designated to go to the school district.
It's good.
So I'm not asking a global question. I'm asking a specific question for this particular property as a pilot program, since you're talking about the fact that you are adopting the ordinance and authorizing the execution of the financial agreement. So you should have a number of how much of that pilot program will be designated to go to the school district.
So
That's the
as
number
Mr.
I'm
Owen
asking.
talked about, there's a formula in terms of special service charge, in terms of what portion goes to the schools district. I don't have it in front of me. I can't tell you. I'm happy to review it and get back to you. So.
All right. But honestly, if this is second reading, then that's not an acceptable answer on second reading. And I've been a municipal mayor, deputy mayor, township committee person, and that's not acceptable.
If there's anyone else who'd like to come up and make a comment about this item, you may do so at this time. Please state your name and address and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. Seeing none, then I will ask it to the council to to vote on this. Do I have an offer?
For Councilwoman Lombardi.
Do I have a second?
Councilman Shaw.
Ms. Mitch, would you please take the roll call vote?
Councilwoman Carmichael.
Yes.
Councilman Espinoza.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi.
Yes.
Councilman Rouse.
Yes.
Councilman Shaw.
Yes.
Councilman Curran.
Yes.
Council President Cahill.
Yes, and the ordinance passes on second reading. Okay, that'll bring us to number 12. This is an ordinance also on second reading, amending and supplementing various chapters of the Municipal Code, Part 4. This is open to the public, and it is a resolution adopting ordinance. Ms. Mitch, would you please read the resolution?
Be it resolved by the Township Council of Piscataway Township, New Jersey, that an ordinance entitled Ordinance to Amend and Supplement the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Piscataway, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, adding Chapter 2 Administration, Section 2-47, Mayoral Advisory Commission on Public Relations, and Chapter 34 Water, and amending Chapter 7 Traffic, Section 7-15 Parking Prohibited During Certain Hours on Certain Streets, was introduced on the 3rd day of December 2024 and had passed the first reading and was published on the 8th day of December 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the aforesaid ordinance, having had a second reading on December 17th, 2024, be adopted, passed, and after passage be published together with a notice of the date of passage or approval in the official newspaper. Be it further resolved that this ordinance shall be assigned number 2024-46.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch. And this is also open to the public, so we'll open it up to the remote attendees. For those who are remote, if you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments, or questions?
Council President, there is nobody with their hand raised for this agenda item.
Thank you very much, and we'll close the remote attendee public portion. We'll open it up for those who are here in person. If you wish to speak at this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. You may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council or administration will then respond if necessary. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to close the public portion for item number 12. And then I'll bring it to the council for a vote. Do I have an offer?
Councilman Aaron, offer.
Do I have a second?
Shah, second.
Ms. Mitch, would you please take the roll call vote?
Councilwoman Carmichael?
Yes.
Councilman Espinoza?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi?
Yes.
Councilman Rouse?
Yes.
Councilman Shaw? Councilman Uren?
Yes.
Council President Cahill?
Yes, and ordinance passes on second reading. So that'll bring us to number 13. But as I mentioned earlier, that we'll take some time before we go to the council on this to respond to questions and some of the comments that had been raised here. Councilor, did you want to start, or do you want me to? I have a few things that I wanted to say. Okay. So what I've heard tonight, all is very reasonable. There's not something that anyone here brought to this table that I would disagree with at all. But what I'm here to do is to kind of share with you some of what the discussion was amongst council members as we began to think about this, if that is fair. No, we did not.
Members of less than 3 members of the council can meet.
We do not meet as a full body to discuss business. We are allowed to have conversations with less than a quorum, and that's what we do, especially when we're given materials prior to a meeting, and there's discussion we can discuss with people here in the building, amongst the elected officials, as well as the mayor, the business administrator, and our attorneys, our township attorneys. That is allowed by law, and that is how business gets done. So there is no. Well, I'm going to talk about how we sort of came to some of the thoughts about this, if that would be okay with you, all right?
Wasn't that I asked specifically, could we have the names of the?
We're going to respond to the public portion when folks came up here, and that's what we're going to do right now. So there had been some talk about this election, and we're here as a governing body, not necessarily as a political body, and I know that it mixed up, but.
Come on. Biggest joke I've ever heard.
Do all still live here too. You know, we live here. I'm born and raised here. Yeah, yes, I am a politician, but you know, I do believe wholeheartedly that my heart is for Piscataway. So the same way that you get up here and you plead that how important it is for the children, okay, we do feel the same way. So let's not disinherit that.
So if I may, you're more than welcome to make comments while I speak, but I would just like the opportunity at least to address some of the points that were raised here today and some of the questions. From my own perspective, just by way of history, so some of you folks don't know who I am, I didn't put one child through this school system, not one. And I voted every single time for a school budget, every single time. I never asked for a tax break because I didn't have a child that went through the public school system. So just as a way of knowing who I am and where I stand with school systems. I stand with the people who, I do believe it, if I'm not mistaken, it was Ms. Stone who talked about, and Ms. Salgado Cohen talked about making no money. And I admire that. I really do. It is a tough job what the school board does in this town. And there is no disrespect, at least from my point of view, with what you do or disagreement with the way in which that you feel about the board and the way you want things run. But if I may, just take a moment to explain some of the reasons why this particular topic came up. So, yeah, and Mr. Irwin says, all things are politics and things are very political, but we were, and again, the reason why I wanted to differentiate between being political and being here on the council is that as a governing person, it's different than my position, as Ms. Berger mentioned, as the PDO chair. So, yeah, there was an endorsement made, and we were criticized for it, and took a lot of flack for that. And we knocked on doors, and we also heard from neighbors who felt like what was happening in parking lots with folks who hand out flyers, and certainly the mayor, ourselves who do that as well. A certain group of folks have done that in the past, but we've heard from many residents that they didn't like that. And years ago, there was never any interest from this governing body, this mayor, at all to support a certain set of candidates until something happened. Now, I could be wrong, and again, this is not the place or a governing body, but since people want to bring up the political side in my position as the PDO, most of the members currently of the Board of Ed are also members of a political party who are endorsed individually by members of the political party there too. So I think we ought to set that piece of it aside, especially since Mr. Irwin mentioned that these are political in nature. And so it's a political organization that is endorsed and has done that. Now, that said, we don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to be part of it anymore. And part of this reasoning to move the election to April felt like that if we were to move the elections out of where there are political positions for governing elected official positions versus keeping it in April where it always had been, and it doesn't affect the budget, right? As long as you stay within the 2% cap, it will not affect the budget, that it would help with that. And somebody mentioned that I was not being genuine with my desire to get out of it. It is genuinely, and again, I'm here as a council member and council president, but I am being put in a position to talk about also my political position as the PDO, which I prefer not to do at this dais, but I have to, apparently, to give an explanation. So it is my intent not to have the PDO endorse a governing body. These council members do not want to be involved with Board of Ed races. And that is a truth that you may or may not want to believe, but those were the individual conversations that were had. Yes, Mr. Prashant Patel, it was that way, and this is what I'm trying to point out.
Nobody from PPDO is elected official, you are.
Mr. Patel, we're talking about political parties. The mayor himself, as his position of mayor, did not do an endorsement and never has. And as a council person, this is as our members of being of a political party. So I just want to set that aside because I need to also address folks who believe that we are not being genuine with wanting to present this option. It is genuine. I don't believe or think that you'll believe me when you walk out of here, and that's okay because I know it's in my heart. And I know that in my truth is that I don't want to be part of making a Board of Ed race political. That is a little bit of my piece that I like to say. I think there were some other questions that were raised in terms of finances that either I'm happy to talk to, or Raj, if you wanted to mention a few. We have some costs here in terms of what it would cost the election to happen in April. I cannot find my note, but I believe it's somewhere in the upwards to maybe $20,000. Is that accurate, Counselor?
That's about it, right?
That is accurate. Now, there are, with the, well, we spoke with the county clerk on this. We've got some information from the clerk to see what that expense would be, and I'm sorry.
Can we just allow her her time? We allowed you your time, okay? Let's allow her her time.
And that's okay. Thank you, Councilwoman, but I
Fair is fair.
Yeah, I understand it's a very sensitive and hot topic to talk about this, but I don't want this board to be misrepresented in a certain way. And I understand what you think. Somebody mentioned about it being a power grab. It's quite the opposite. I've had mayors mention, as I've talked around to mayors around the state, mayors who have boards of ed, like Woodbridge, like Newark, where the mayors select board of ed candidates win. I can't imagine that that wouldn't also be partisan, but there are. But I've had mayors say that this would be a silly move on our part politically, that we would never have candidates who would win in April, and that this would be contrary to what some mayors believe would be the right political move, because the nature of the relationship between the Board of Ed and this governing board changed some time ago. There had never, under this mayor, and not all of us have been here all the time during this period of time. Some have been on council before me, some have come later, but there had never been this rift between this governing body and the Board of Ed up until there was. And I can tell you that that was up until certain folks were being supported by a political club. That said, what we've been advised is an estimated cost for the election will be roughly $15,000 to $20,000. Currently, the school district, and I believe this is the correct number, has a budget of roughly $139 million. We also have, somebody was talking about this, the pilot program, money that goes to the school. And yes, it may not be on evaluated on all things about that building. It is on the land, but the money still goes to the school, and yet there's no head count going to the school in terms of numbers of children. So the money goes there to use for existing population, meaning that those pilot programs for those buildings, be they logistics centers or other, do not also then incur a head count at the school. So that is additional money. With regard to voter turnout, our town, between both parties, has over 9,500 vote-by-mail voters, those people who have chosen to vote by mail. We believe that there's still a great opportunity to engage with those residents to get them to come out to vote. Yes, there would be a shortening of terms for two folks here. I do believe that was Courtney, and I do believe that was Nancy Salgado Cohen. So, and I get what you're saying about that, and I understand that. But I don't believe that that is weighs more heavily than trying to do a reset in this town where the Board of Ed and the governing body did work together. There are also other positive outlets. We believe that somebody mentioned about the media not giving in its due, but I believe, and I think some of the other folks here do too, believe that some media outlets would have the opportunity to then focus more closely on the candidates who would run, since it would be a standalone election. It does not affect folks who might consider running for Board of Ed, but who would also seek to run for governing elected office. You still may do that as well. This is just the general sentiment. I will open it up to other folks here on the board who may wish to make a comment about this, or who may have a concern about taking the vote tonight. So I'm going to open it up to the council.
I basically just want it to be about the kids. Bottom line, okay? It should be about the kids, okay? But I want the politics taken out of that election, okay? I've been involved and seen the politics that has become into the school board election. And I don't want to be involved with that politics, okay? It should be about the children.
Any other comments from the council regarding this?
You know, I agree. I'm a fairly new council member, but I was disheartened by seeing all the politics that went around the town during the elections. And I agree it should not be partisan, and I wasn't in agreement with that. So I'm in favor of resetting us so that we're not running against each other, campaigning against each other and endorsing candidates. I'm for that. That we do reset and we start on even footing. We start on even footing. And I was looking for explanation about whether or not it was going to cost more, and I didn't get that from our lawyer. It's not going to be a burden to the tax people. And if you say this school board in Piscataway is as excellent as it is, that's not going to hurt you. And you're not going to stop being excellent because we have an election in April. So I'm for us resetting and starting on fair footing.
In November?
In April. I've been here for
Fair
33
in November.
years. I'm saying in April, but I'm saying if
I want to know who endorsed.
what I'm hearing is we need more time to think about it. So I'm in an agreement with taking a first reading and a first vote and then taking time to think about it and coming back. That's my.
First reading. This is it, only one reading, it's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
And then take it out of the consent agenda. That's what I'm saying.
There is no two readings.
This is a great one.
You're willing to shorten two elected officials' terms.
Three.
Table it.
Oh, everybody's terms are gonna be short. That was elected.
And I need to know who endorsed.
Even the
candidate that
Waller
endorsed. Her stuff's gonna be shortened too.
Ms.
How do you feel
Carmichael,
about that?
this is not a first reading. This is a resolution, Ms. Carmichael.
I still want to know who endorsed it.
Vote no.
Is there anyone else from the council who would like to make a comment with regard to this particular item that is on the consent agenda item? Or has any other comments with regard to some of the comments that came from our residents or questions? Seeing none, I need to know what the council's pleasure would be on this item, because we need to know if you want to vote on it in the consent agenda item, or if you want to hold or to do a separate vote.
Separate vote or take it?
I'm sorry, I am asking the council.
Give us our
Thank you.
time. Clearly not.
We're not confused, but in deference to a group of people who are out here talking about this, where I don't think that, in deference here, you have a woman who raised her children here on her own in their school system, has worked very hard too. You have a gentleman who has been a soccer coach in town, raised his children, gone to school here. A woman who's born and raised and chose to stay here and make her business here. A pastor who has preaching, he has a parish here in town, lives in town. A gentleman who runs the Pop Warner, who's lived here in town, his children has. Mr. Shaw, who has helped countless folks come from India and find a home here. I don't think questioning our moral compass is the argument here. And in deference to what you're saying, there's no confusion. The folks here really believe that moving it to April is the right move because you completely remove it out of the governing elected official races that happen in November, which inherently become political. And that is the genuine desire. And so in deference to what you're saying, to accuse us of not knowing what we to do or confused is a silly comment, to be quite honest with you. We want to discuss this. I am not offended. I mean, I don't understand. I could either move to go ahead and vote without, making comments and trying to address these issues.
You know the number of people who voted in those elections, and you know how many people vote in November.
You have 9,500 vote by mail voters in this town. I need to ask, what does what is?
Ms. Lombardi, you know you've been here.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
I'm also in this town for 40 years and my 2 kids already on a school graduate. Still I am paying same tax what you guys paying. So I'm in favor for proposed motion.
Well, I think we're just gonna.
You know the voter turnout. You've been in this town for many years. You know the voter turnout.
Excuse me, Mr. Pachant, the public
When you have
portion is
time-
closed. Please.
When we respect you, when you talking about on podium, we never disturb you. Thank you. So I'm propose for the move from November to April, Board of Education.
Mr. Shaw, we're right now, there's a few council people discussing, so we're going to hold off on that. Just one moment.
Like majority is saying no, what's wrong with tabling? That's what it works. Unless there's something like or there was a complaint that the school board is not functioning, I get that right away. But there is not that, and you have not been able to.
I've been working with Piscataway for 32 years. Every time they put somebody on, there's been screws, and it hasn't been for the benefit of the kids. And I can go back in my notes over 32 years, and I can tell you who they are.
It's like manufacturing a problem that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
It's never worked as well.
Okay, thank you, folks, for taking your time and allowing us for that moment. What we realized is we're not going to get a full vote here tonight on that, and so we're going to table that item and not take a vote at all. This may come back up again, and you'll be more than welcome to come talk to us at council again about it. But if there's one thing that here, my last meeting as council president, that I would hope that you would take away is that the desire is genuine from this council and governing body.
Thank you. Thank you for reconsidering and taking your time.
Council President, I would like to add a comment, and can we do the consent agenda with the other items first? I want to make a very brief comment.
Well, do you want to go through everything else and then we'll do that?
No, just the consent agenda, let's get the,
Okay, so we're going to take off that item,
So,
Z.
item Z will be removed from the consent agenda.
So when we vote today, it'll be without that item, folks. Okay, now we're going to take the vote on the consent agenda items for efficiency.
I'm sorry, before you proceed, I don't want to hold you up.
Sir, the public portion is closed. This is not an open public forum right now.
We can't call out from the,
You cannot do
there
that.
to here.
You'll have another opportunity. There'll be
You have
another
another public portion.
at the end.
I don't know all the rules, forgive my naivety.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So for efficiency, items have been consolidated into a consent agenda to be voted on together. The materials for these items have been distributed to the council in advance of the meeting. At this time, are there any items that the council would like removed in the consent agenda to be discussed or voted on separately? Well, we decided to remove number Z and table that for now. Are there any other items from council that you'd like to do that with?
No.
Okay, seeing none, then I'll take an offer for the item number 13, consent agenda items.
Offer, Councilwoman Lombardi.
Do I have a second?
Second, Councilman Espinosa.
All those, Ms. Mitch, please take the roll call vote, sorry.
Councilwoman Carmichael.
Yes.
Councilman Espinoza.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lombardi.
Yes.
Councilman Rouse.
yes.
Councilman Shaw. Councilman Curran.
Yes.
Council President Cahill.
Yes, and the consent agenda items pass. That'll bring us to number 14, which are announcements and comments from officials. Councilwoman Carmichael? You gotta hold down your microphone.
Have an open dialogue this evening. I think that's good. I think that's healthy. Yes, and everyone have a great holiday season.
Yep, I agree with Councilwoman Carmichael. I also want to wish everyone happy holidays and soon to be Happy New Year, 2025. Here we go.
Councilwoman Lombardi?
Yes, we do have Santa Claus at the Possum Town Firehouse this Sunday. I believe it's from 8:30 to 12 o'clock. I'd also like to wish everybody a very happy holiday, happy and healthy, and however you may celebrate this season. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Councilman Rouse?
Yes, wishing everyone and hoping everyone have a blessed holiday season and be safe and have a wonderful time with your families.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Shaw?
I'm wishing to everybody to happy holiday. Thank you.
You, Councilman. Councilman Ern?
Yes, I just want to wish everybody a happy holidays, and I just want to say one thing about putting kids first. My wife, my two sons work for the Board of Education. My wife used to work for the Board of Education, and I do a lot of volunteer work from my heart, too. So I just want you people to know that out there, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
I'm going to take an opportunity very briefly, since we have a couple members of the Board of Ed. On the August 13th, the legal counsel sent a letter to the Board of Education in regards to the revenue coming off of 1690 South Washington Avenue. I know some of the members that were here and some of the past members did file a lawsuit against the township and the Township Planning and Zoning Board. That was discussed and ruled on by a Superior Court judge. I'm just wondering with the letter if they are going to accept the revenue stream off that property. It's estimated anywhere between $200,000 to $250,000 a year. So we have not heard back from the members of the Board of Ed. If you can kindly talk to the business administrator and get back to us if you're going to accept the money. I think you should accept the money, but given the fact that folks filed a lawsuit against the town and everybody's talking about the costs and everything, I just want to know that we need to know, are you going to accept the money or not? So, I mean, the bottom line is that this is all transpired through, there was a application originally for that site for over 300 townhouses, and that was denied, and then the judge had a settlement for 275,000, or excuse me, 275 units, then changed their mind to build 2 logistics buildings out there, and then there was a lawsuit claiming that it was going to impact the students over at Randolph-Hill School, knowing full well, ironically, that's like more than 900 feet away. The board in Ensign Wind has a pre-K facility down on Old New Brunswick Road, right next to it, a current logistics building. So we were a little perplexed about that. So we want to know if the sentiment's still there about it, are you going to accept the revenue? We're hoping that you do, but you need to let us know one way or another whether you're going to accept the revenue or not. And then with that, I'll give a quick update, Council President. We're looking forward to moving forward sometime in the spring with the start of the cleanup, environmental cleanup of the ecological park out there, as well as we're hoping to award the contract for the addition for the Mettler Bodine House Museum, which is going to house the Ross Hall wall right there, which is actually was down in Tennessee right now. It's finished renovating, and hoping we'll have the addition built by the time the 250th anniversary of our country and back up to celebrate.
I know, that's coming. And that's great. That's why we like to use the hashtag First Fourth, because the first 4th of July was celebrated in our town. Business Administrator Daisy?
Just wish everybody happy holidays.
Thank you. Counselor?
Just happy holidays, thank you.
Okay, great. I'm going to hold off my comments because I think the mayor wanted to maybe make a few comments about some council members here who are departing.
Go on. Kelly, do you have it? Little surprise here. Kapil, since this is your last official act here on the dais.
Yes.
We do have a nice back right here. I got to turn this around here for you. I got to pull out my glasses. I'm getting older. Okay, I got to make sure I have this the correct way. It says, in recognition of your service and commitment to the Township of Piscataway, Councilman from 2017 to 2024, Kapil. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's actually real glass. Do not drop it. Be very careful with it.
Thank you, my council members and the mayor. I'm in this town from 2001 for community service, 18 years for board of school board, at library board of trustee, recreation department also. I'm almost more than 23 years. So I'm this town for 2001 on voluntary. I'm still there. I was on a school board, on a curriculum board also for 3 years. So I am in this town for anybody, anything you need. I'm always available for your service. Thank you.
And this one goes to Councilman Linwood Rouse here. Thank you for getting my glasses here. In recognition of your service and commitment to the Township of Piscataway from 2021 to 24. And I was fortunate enough to be on the dais with Rouse, so if we ever needed a confessional, we can always come down here and get a confessional. So here, come on. Thank you, President.
Thank you,
Why do
Mayor.
you want to say a few words?
Again, it's been a privilege. It's another honor to serve Piscataway. Came to this town serving on the Board of Education in terms of always being there for our young people at Turn On Youth for many years, doing many things for our Board of Education and moving right on throughout the township. I think one of my crowning blessings for our through Piscataway is why when the young kids could not have a place to swim, I was their band leader when they had to tear up that pool and the mayor said, it's too much money to hold a public pool. It cost of $3 million. We were working on a YM and we went to work for it and now we have it today. And every time I look over there, I thank all the work within from the citizens to the council for leaving our city with such a wonderful, wonderful place to view. So Mayor, thank you. And once again, I thank you for the service and everyone who supported me. I'm not going nowhere. I'm still here and will be here. I love Piscataway. God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, it is beautiful, that Y. We get a lot of compliments and a lot of folks who come from other towns to tour it for their ideas for their own Y. And, you know, I'll just make a comment since the Y came up is that I think when, you know, we own that as a town, right? It's our town community center, but you need somebody to manage it, right? We certainly couldn't do that. And the Y came in, of course, you know, with the lowest bid, of course, and they're the best people to run it, let's face it. But they had given the elected officials, the, you know, the township leaders here and directors, a bit of information to say how long it would take before we would be in the black. And I forget, Mayor, how many years was it that it was supposed to take? They said 6 years, but we have been in the black for the 3rd year. And that's because the residents here in this town take an interest in this town and want to participate. And that Y is just a beautiful example of how many now? 13,000 members. Yeah, give yourselves a round of applause.
And let me follow up on that.
Yeah.
That the whole Y was built on pilot programs.
Yeah.
And no taxpayer dollars.
Right. And those are
only one town in COVID time, there is no layoff for anybody. Look at the other schools board. There is lot of people, teacher have a layoff. We don't have anybody layoff from this township. So we are working so hard and we are looking for people as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot to be proud of. All of you folks love this town. We do too. And there's a lot of common ground to be found. And I will believe in that as long as, I'll always believe in that, but I will speak about that as long as I have the space and time to do that. So with that, I will wish everyone here very happy holidays. You know, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a little bit later this year, so the holidays get extended, and a very happy and healthy and safe New Year. And I do believe, usually Councilman Espinoza will mention is, as the colder weather gets here and we may have icy conditions, please be careful as you drive on the roads, be on the lookout for our children, and, you know, always never drink and drive, as we know, but hoping all have a very happy and healthy holidays season. That'll bring us to number 15. This is the agenda session. This is for our January 2nd, 2025 reorganization meeting. So I'm not going to read through every single one of these items. This will happen at the January 2nd meeting. So the mayor's appointments for various commissions and advisory boards, appointments of various positions such as the municipal clerk, the deputy and alternate deputy registrars. I'm just reading some of them, the rent leveling board, senior citizens advisory commission, and various other administrators, commissions, and officers, and they're all listed there on the agenda for you to see. Those will happen all at the January 2nd reorganization meeting. The next item that will be on at that meeting will be a resolution authorizing award of contract, automotive and light-duty truck parts. This will be Somerset County Cooperative, D&B Auto, not to exceed $70,000. Are there any comments or questions with regard to this item from council?
None.
Seeing none, that will be on. The next item will be a resolution authorizing award of contract 2025 catch basin castings, inlets, and manholes, New Jersey State contract, Campbell Foundry Company, not to exceed $40,000. Are there any comments or questions from council regarding this item? Seeing none, that'll be on. The next item will be a resolution authorizing award of contract for collision repair and vehicle painting, Somerset County Cooperative, DGL Raftopoulos, DBA Mako Collision, not to exceed $15,000. Any comments or questions from council regarding that item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next item will be a resolution authorizing award of contract OEM Automotive Parts for Ford. Sourcewell contract, Route 23 Auto Mall, not to exceed $35,000. Any comments or questions from council regarding that item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next will be a resolution authorizing award of contract, OEM parts and repairs, heavy-duty vehicles over 14,500 GVW, Somerset County Cooperative, Campbell Freight Liner LLC, not to exceed $25,000. Are there any comments or questions regarding this item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next item will be a resolution authorizing award of contract 2025 pavement marking and striping, Somerset County Cooperative, Denville Line Painting, Inc., not to exceed $100,000. Are there any comments or questions regarding this item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next will be a resolution authorizing award of contract 2025 plumbing services, time and material, ESC New Jersey, Magic Touch Construction Company, Inc., not to exceed $40,000. Are there any comments or questions regarding this item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next item will be a resolution authorizing award of contract, tires, tubes, and services, New Jersey State contract. This is a custom, I don't know, is that a bandage? What? I don't even know what that is. Oh, that's the name of the company. Sorry. Not $5,000. Are there any comments or questions regarding that item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next item will be a resolution authorizing award of contract 2025 traffic control signs, supports, hardware, and safety devices. Somerset County Cooperative, National Highway Products, Inc., not to exceed $15,000. Any comments or questions regarding this item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next will be a resolution authorizing award of contract, walk-in building supplies, New Jersey State contract, Lowe's Home Centers, LLC, not to exceed $35,500. Any comments or questions from council on this item? Seeing none, that will be on. The next item will be a resolution authorizing award of contract, walk-in building supplies, New Jersey State contract, Home Depot, Inc., not to exceed $76,000. Any comments or questions from council regarding this item? Seeing none, that will be on. Okay, so that takes care of the items that will be on for the January 2nd meeting. So that'll bring us to number 16, which is open to the public for the remote attendees. So we'll open it up to remote attendees. If you wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand either on the Zoom app or if by phone by pressing *9. When it is your turn to speak, you will receive or hear a request to unmute yourself. Please click the prompt or press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. At that time, please state your name and address and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. The council or administration will respond if necessary after you've completed any comments or questions.
Council President, there is nobody with their hand raised for this agenda item.
Thank you, Ms. Mitch. So we're going to open up to the folks who are here in the public. For anyone who's here in the public, if you wish to speak at this time, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and know that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. You may take a seat after completion of your comments or questions, and the council or administration will respond if necessary.
Hello again, Bill Irwin, 233 Ellis Parkway. Oh, warm one tonight. Well, since you got me out here on a December night, I may as well clarify a few points. First, with regard to the 1690 South Washington thing, the location of the preschool was mentioned. I mean, I don't know if you all noticed, but it's not that easy to find a spot in this town that isn't close to a logistics center. So where they're able to find space for the preschool, they're able to find space for the preschool. As far as the tax revenue goes, actually, they don't have to tell you whether or not they want to accept it. If you owe it to them, you just ship it over, and that's the end of the ballgame. Nothing further needs to be said on it. The logic behind the argument, well, are they going to reject it now? No, they had a lawsuit. They didn't want a warehouse next to a school. You all won. You built it. So now it's built. So what are you suggesting? They should be like, oh, well, now that it's built and there's nothing we can do about it, we should deprive the school system of whatever revenue comes in? I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. So that's a PR stunt. It's silly. Lastly, I thank the council for moving consideration of the movement of the school board election to another time. I think that was the right decision. I think it showed some wisdom, and hopefully it just doesn't come up again. I think that would be best for all involved. In terms of what happened, to set the record straight, there was, and we can agree to disagree on this, but you said, well, something happened, and then the council got involved, or the PDO got involved in school board races. Well, what happened was in 2017, a number of folks decided to participate in the Democratic primary, which is their right to do. We talked about consent of the governed earlier. Some folks to withdraw that consent, and they ran. I was on that ticket. I ran against Senator Smith. Knew I wasn't going to win, of course. He's a sitting senator. But we needed somebody at the top of the ticket, because back then we had something called the line in the primary, and the line's not there anymore, and you all have yourselves to thank for that. So you need somebody at the top of the ballot in order to line everybody up, so everyone's not like way over here with no shot. So that's what happened in the primary. And then in November 2017 general, because some school board members had participated in the primary, a slate of candidates was run against them in the school board election to try and knock them out of the school board. That's just simply what happened. It was tit for tat, and it just escalated from there. And I believe you when you say that you all don't want to be involved in that anymore. I really do. Maybe for different reasons. I don't imagine that's a pleasant experience.
I'd hope that would be for all political groups would find that to be the case then too.
Well, there's a, what are the mechanics of that? If it goes into April, are there just going to be some names out there and nobody's supporting anybody? I mean, that's not what's going to happen. It's just not realistic. People are going to support people. But yeah, I get that the council members would just prefer not to do that every year. It's a huge expenditure of time and effort. Hasn't been particularly fruitful for the last 5 years. 17 candidates got smoked. You had a little success in the interim, and then the last 5 elections hasn't gone.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Your 3 minutes are up, and I appreciate that you want to gloat about our losses there. But whether it's the PDO or the Piscataway Progressives supporting, it's still political parties supporting. Let's just be very careful.
And the idea of the offer was made.
Okay.
Both of the last 2 years, hey, let's work this out and stop doing it, and rejected. Both years. And made again.
I think that we're going to agree to disagree on that, but we're not going to get into the politics of this now.
Fair enough.
Please, thank you so much. If you may, whoever would like to come up next may do so. Thank you so much.
Stacy Berger, still 233 Ellis Parkway. So thank you for moving that resolution to either a different time or preferably not at all, because it's absurd. It's not likely that you're not going to participate or somebody's not going to participate in an April election. I don't know where the gentleman went. Oh, I'm sorry, there you are. The idea that people can't hand out literature in a parking lot 100 feet from the polling place is not going to change when the election is in November or June or April. That's something that that happens everywhere in every community. I don't really understand why people can't just say, I'm not interested in taking your literature, thank you very much.
I will tell you, people don't like it.
Well, then you shouldn't do it, Michelle.
I will
then
tell
don't do it. I mean, if people don't
I don't.
Okay, that's fine.
And people don't like it in school grounds
have my-
either.
can I have my 10
But
minutes?
people were being accused
Okay.
of voting for, going against your right to speak, a free speech. I don't think that was the intent for two board members who had preferred not to try to take a vote, not to campaign on school grounds. So there is a distaste, and I'm not going to take away from your time.
I mean, I actually think it's a really important conversation, and I'm glad that we're having this now. I wish you had like an open hearing if you want, like, I just think this is instructive, right? People really care about these issues. They're willing to be here at 9:30 at night. You all care about these issues. You're here till 9:30 at night, maybe later. And so it would be helpful, really productive, if you wanted to have these kinds of discussions, to have a committee, which I think most of the school board members can tell you, and every other municipal person can tell you, that committees of a governing body meet and consider these kinds of issues prior to bringing them up. And then they do reports about what their committees do. So I know Nancy mentioned that she's been a deputy mayor and a mayor. There are lots of ways to get input without having it be antagonistic. So we could have this conversation, and we can back and forth about who wants to be in a school board parking lot and who doesn't. But I just want to say that before 2017, when people ran for office in a Democratic primary and everybody flipped out in the Democratic Party, even though I think we won 4 seats in the committee and nothing else. But we had to have a full slate because there was a line, and now there isn't a line, and so that's helpful because then we don't have to run for races we don't necessarily want to participate in. But we were out in parking lots before that. My younger son has always wanted to hand out literature, and so he did for many years prior to 2017. That's not going to change. That's a constitutional freedom of speech, First Amendment issue.
It just may not be so contentious, if we could agree about that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't agree with that. I mean, I think we just have a difference of opinion, which is okay. But the right for people to run for office is really very fundamental, and we are about to come into a very difficult terror, potentially, fascist regime at the federal level, and we are going to need this council, this council to stand up for the residents of this community. And so I think it's really important that you all protect democracy, and it's good to see that you did that tonight. So thank you.
Thank you for your time. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
Thank you very much. Stephen Salgado, Cowan, 124 Stanton Avenue, Piscataway, obviously. I want to thank everybody that is here on this side and in this room. I spent the past several days trying to make sure I understood what this change to the Board of Ed election time was going to be. I don't know if a lot of people do that. I do know that a lot of people don't do that. I am grateful that the council took the consideration, the time to say maybe we need to think about this more. I was gonna not make a comment because Stacy just said something that I really wanted to say over there, which is you are experiencing now, we all are experiencing now, civic-minded, invested parents and residents who want to do their best to get it right. They rely on you, they rely on themselves, their ground game, the people out there. What you're experiencing now is people who are upset. They have valid concerns. And when Stacy said maybe a committee, something outside of a space like this where a resolution seems to be imminent, maybe that's the thing that we need to invest in. We have all seen what happens out there. We all know what is very close to happening nationally, globally. We have the opportunity to get this right, to show that people who have differing opinions can sit down and come to a reasonable understanding about something. We can do it right. We can stop talking at each other, listen to each other. And I'm saying this to everybody that just pissed my wife off. She's going to give me an earful later on. We can do better. I think everybody here can agree we can do better.
Goes for both sides. That goes for both sides.
I said everybody. I said everyone, and I specifically turned to the group of people who are going to really hurt me later on. But it goes for all of us. And I hope everyone hears what I'm saying, that we can all do better. That's all I have for today. And I thank everybody here and here. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for your incredible hard work. Everybody that's here. I mean it for everybody.
Hello, Nancy Salgado Cowan, 124 Stanton Avenue. I do want to just make a comment to the council stating, I think that it is good to take time to review the information. And yes, committees do work very well on our side of the world in the Board of Ed. Obviously, your guys' decision, what you want to do with council. I don't want to butt into your business. I would hope that you guys would continue not to butt into our business in school board. So going forward, I know that the resolution was moved off of the decision today. How would one know if it's going to be on the next agenda, or where would someone look for
We
that?
publish the agenda in all places that we mentioned. You can get it either on the site. For people who don't use the internet, we post it at library, I think the seniors, even the senior center we posted to.
Well, also statutorily, as you received notice last week, because it would be a different date, you would receive notice again. The
Okay.
school board would, so anyway.
Thank you very much. Have a good night and happy holidays.
Yeah, you're jingly.
Prashant Patel, 52 Justice Street, Piscataway. The item Z was not updated in the agenda, so general public in the town didn't know if they were not paying attention to school board meeting. This came up in school board meeting, but in your agenda, this was not included 48 hours prior to the meeting.
It has to be to the extent known, and the council was still deciding.
You already knew.
No,
You already knew as of last
listen,
board.
at the end of the day, you can keep arguing, but
Okay, Nancy Grabelia, I just want to say on behalf of the Piscataway Township Education Association, we'd like to thank you for tabling Resolution Z today and for taking that action. We appreciate it. I just want to let you know, for the last 32 years, I've worked with the Piscataway Board of Education and with the school district. And I have to tell you, it's one of the finest school districts in the state of New Jersey. And you should be proud of the Board of Education, and I have to give credit to the Township Committee as well.
I went there. No one's denying that.
And as I said, for 32 years, I've been working in this town, so I've seen the impact of everything. So I'm not going to age myself, but I've probably been around a lot longer than a lot of people that are on this dais. I've been here since the early 90s. So I've seen the impact when things are going right and when things are not going right, when they work and when they don't work. And I'm going to tell you, right now, the way things are going, they work perfectly fine. And I would really hate to see any change take place because things can't work any better. Everything that is happening at this particular point, it really services the children of Piscataway. And as a representative who represents those employees, I am proud when I look at what their accomplishments are, what they've been able to provide to the children, and anything that would upset the apple cart would only be to the detriment of this township. So anything that you can do to continue that support would really be great. Thank you and have a happy holiday.
Happy holidays.
I just have a few good things and just like to point out a few things on the bad governance side. So on the good things, I think as people talk about the school system, I think it's one of the best. One of the things that you don't do is sell yourself short. I think we should be just trumpeting this across the state of how wonderful Piscataway school system is. That includes the arts, science, radio, anything in between, and the programs that they offer. Dr. Baskerville, everybody in the board, the curriculum committee, everything is wonderful. So I don't think any change is required in that area. Now, in terms of the the governance and all that, as I pointed out, as we move into new year, there are areas that I would like to see some improvement, which is empty buildings. And when you look at 287 and the amount of traffic, and many people, I think, now talk about environment and other programs, we have very empty buildings in our town. And I think 2 to 3 months back, I pointed out that old Paychecks building where there were 2 glasses that were removed. Now I see 5 or 7. It's becoming rundown. So I don't know what's going on over there. And there is absolutely, that's on Washington Avenue, by the way. So
That's the agreement that was approved tonight. That building has been approved for a logistics center. It's right off of 287, and it's currently being demolished. It is surrounded.
Oh, it's demolished?
Surrounded by a fence. It's all safe.
And why would somebody do that with the wonderful building?
It's been empty for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so the tax abatement didn't work?
No, it's been empty for 10 years.
Paychecks left.
They appealed their taxes. They're paying very little in taxes. Paychecks is gone.
Okay, so lesson learned is I think we have given too many tax abatements to many companies, but I think it's about time that we really hold feet to the fire for companies. And we, instead of giving tax breaks, let's give incentives for the right amount of work that actually lift the populace and also balance age and gender dependency in this town so that we can remain prosperous for next 30 years. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that you love the school system too, because and again, very happy to pay it, but most of our property taxes go percentage-wise to the school system. And that is why we can be proud of the school, because most people here have no issue with paying towards that, right? We've never really, I don't think we've ever had anyone, when you used to vote on a budget, no one ever really voted. Maybe one time in all the 24 years here did it not pass. And that's because people invest in their children here. It's a great town to live and raise your kids. And on the governing side, we have free recreation, right? That's another big piece. We have we have state-of-the-art senior programs. My colleague mentioned that during COVID, we didn't do layoffs. We kept residential services. And Mayor, if I may call you that, because you shall be by your last highest title, there's a lot to be proud of. We're a AA+ stable bond rate by Moody's town. And that helps us go out to bond with low interest rates. We have thankful back there, he's hiding, our CFO who keeps us on the straight and narrow, that if the whole world should fall apart, Piscataway is in a good position to make sure its residents aren't suffering like other towns around us did during COVID. So I think collectively, we're elected officials, and being in this position, you are absolutely exposed. I'm sure Board of Ed people have heard complaints at various times. We're exposed to that. But I am very proud of the way that this council and this administration and the directors of this township lead this town with, yes, more of the nuts and bolts, but without that thought into infrastructure, public safety, those things, we wouldn't be able to enjoy the other things. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to add more commentary. It's getting very late, but
But it's okay.
thank you. So
It's wonderful. The only thing I would comment that 2 years back, I think there was a noise about state shortchanging Piscataway for school budget.
okay,
I want you guys to fight for it next time if something.
okay, thank you.
Share of funding.
Thank you. Let's give the.
No, we
podium
don't holler
to-
out.
Yeah, let's.
Council President, can I just make a comment? He was referring to the pilots as tax breaks. They're not. The state has a very strict statutory formula to calculate those payments, and the payments are generally equivalent to what the taxes would be paid. The advantage to them is that the township gets security as to the amount that's going to be paid on an annual basis. So those entities that are under those pilot programs cannot appeal their taxes. As the council knows, when a commercial entity, which is usually our biggest issue, is commercial entity appeals their taxes based on their vacancy rates, et cetera, the township pays 100% of those refunds, even though they only take 25% of the revenue. So the school board doesn't pay anything back, the county doesn't pay anything back, the fire districts don't pay anything back, the township does. So in order to protect the township's revenue, these pilot programs are a really good incentive. Also, it's money that can be spent outside of the cap to help the township keep their tax rate down. And also, it gives the developer the benefit of getting better lending rates so that they can actually, and that's why lenders and developers want it, is because they can get better lending rates so they can actually develop properties that are abandoned in town like this Paychex.
Yeah, thank you. And we don't want, we don't want those abandoned spaces. So that is a benefit, and, there is can be arguments to be made, but I do believe that, like most people, if you're budgeting, it's always good to know how much money you're getting in, and that's the value of a pilot program. Sir, if you could just come to the podium, state your name and address, and note you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
Kostas Efthymios, 58 Curtis, Piscataway. I like the Piscataway school system. It produced an IT character who's managing Central Jersey and a paralegal, and they both own their homes now. Thank you. Outreach is an issue. Ms. Berger worked out. I approached her one time, hoping that she'll give me that menorah. She didn't. I asked her to please support me concerning issues with property maintenance. I called twice, no response. The issue is outreach. There's a lot of senior citizens out there who can produce and have a voice. Get them. I'm not computer wise, but I would ask Ms. Berger to help me out, help me help her issues. It's not happening. There's that man there. He comes once in a while when he can. But there's been time when I was the only one here and lit up the room. Help us help you. I'm going to bring out Miss Leona Ward's name. 100-year-old woman who passed away 5 years ago. I cried for weeks. She was an angel, but she couldn't bring her voice here. With her words, I speak to you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else in the public wishing to speak, you may do so at this time. Please state your name and address and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comment.
Hi, Sarah Radford, 13 Dunbar Ave. I want to talk about a different topic now. So I don't come to that many of these meetings, but I was sitting here listening, and it was striking my ear as very outdated that we're using unnecessarily gendered terminology like councilwoman and councilman. So I just like to ask you to consider maybe using the terminology council member moving forward. I think it would be a big move.
Hello, Evan Shigoski, 280 River Road. First and foremost, I didn't come for school board. I do think it's an important issue, but that's not necessarily the prime issue here. I do think that it is 100% a byproduct of a similar issue I would like to talk about. This community is extremely divisive. I am not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican. At heart, I'm an independent. I've always believed that you vote for the right person that can do whatever it is that needs to be done. I don't pick one side or the other. I am a registered Democrat since I moved to Piscataway, because that's where your impact is as a voter in this town. Something that it took me a lot of effort to do, but I did it because you have to do what is right. With that, when I talk about doing the right thing, and this being a byproduct of not doing the right thing. This town has a habit of bringing people together. I will tell you that, but I don't think it's for the right reason. Over the last week, a local nonprofit sent out a mailer, and the township saw fit to tell the public not directly, but to definitively insinuate that it wouldn't be in their best interest to donate to a federally and state recognized nonprofit. It's not the first time, it's the second time. There's been a lot of other things that are not public knowledge in terms of letters sent by the Township Council to that nonprofit, and the Township recommending to the state of New Jersey that that nonprofit maybe no longer be licensed so that it can continue to operate. I come here tonight not as a member of that nonprofit, but as a taxpayer, as a member of this community, a community that I chose to make home because of my involvement with that nonprofit, but because I believe in servicing others and helping when the time is right and when someone is truly in need. I find it on a personal level, again, as a resident of Piscataway, completely and utterly despicable that the township would use its public platform to tell someone to to not donate to a nonprofit. You don't tell people not to donate to churches or mosques or other houses of worship. You don't say don't donate to the Y. You don't say don't donate anywhere. And when the township decides to come out with their pitchforks and their torches online, you start publishing other things on your social media. 4 pictures for one event, but you publish one picture as one post, and another picture as another post, and a third picture as a third post, and a fourth picture as a fourth post, almost as if you're trying to discredit the public and get them to go away. You all know what I'm talking about. If you don't, maybe you ought not be a council person. You are losing seats. People are retiring. How many times does this town have to be sued? I don't want to be involved in any of this.
Sir.
My 3 minutes are up. Well,
Thank you.
maybe your council terms are up.
If there's anyone else in the public who would wish to speak now, may do so. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
Sid Madison, 176 Blackford Avenue. I bring a new topic up. The subject is a resolution that we'd like the council to look at, and the council president has a copy of 2 pieces of files that explain the resolution. I'd like to give a little background in preparation for the council to understand what we're really trying to do with these resolutions. The background is that while Piscataway has done great on climate, the fossil fuel companies are still putting out carbon, tremendous amount of carbon. They've known for over 40 years that that's making climate worse. It's making our air worse and everything else. This particular resolution has to do with making the polluters pay. And that information you'll find in those 2 documents if the council president would pass them on. There's been some discussion about taxes and whatever. The way that Piscataway has done a lot in terms of climate they've gotten funds that economically would be called carrots. And you get the money from either the state or the federal government, from maybe Bob Smith or Frank Pallone helping maybe. Those are what are called carrots. In the meantime, the fossil fuel industry has made sure that they didn't have to pay any sticks. A stick in this terminology from economics would be a carbon tax. It's hard to get a carbon tax passed. New Jersey is suing the large fossil fuel companies because we can't. And this is a resolution by Bob Smith, or excuse me, we're asking you to support the resolution that the ordinance or the law that Bob Smith is proposing. So we'll come back and discuss that. If anybody needs to know more information about that, please contact me. I know Gabriel knows about it. So that's it.
Thank you, Sid. And Sid, just so you know, we recently received grant money for more electric vehicle stations into the town. So
great ideas. And I know that my kids use the ones at the Y.
Yeah, a lot of folks do. Actually, we make sure that any new business who comes into town has to put in electric stations as well.
That's good. By the way, I learned a little about procedure today because 13, the first word on 13 says consent. It implies that it's not going to go 2 rounds. My understanding or my guess is that the items on number 15 were the what I would call the first reading. Is that correct?
In terms of, only ordinances need a first and second reading. Resolutions, we put on, to the extent known, that we put on items for the next agenda so that the council can speak about it if they have any comments or questions, or just to notify the public about the upcoming topics.
So you could put a resolution on what, the equivalent of 13 without having previously mentioned it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madsen. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments.
Good evening. My name is Loretta Rivers, 249 Pinelli Drive, Piscataway. So I've been here all night tonight listening to bipartisan, partisan, and I am a board member of Piscataway. I've raised my children here, and I enjoy living here in Piscataway. Everyone who knows me as a person who likes everyone, like with a clean slate. I do not like all the back and forth, all the slander. I do not go by that. So, you know, my children are very important to me, and you know, I'm like a mama bear, but when it comes to me, I take a beating, right? And for those who don't know, I am running for a seat, a Democratic seat, here, Assembly District 17. It is not official yet, but I have not put the paperwork in. But there was an incident 2 weeks ago that I was invited to a PDO holiday gathering. I was excited that I could come as a resident of Piscataway. Unfortunately, the next day, I was called by the person who invited me to say, Loretta, you cannot come. You are uninvited. And I was uninvited by the PDO. Uninvited. Who does that? To a holiday party. And then I get a call, not saying that the call wasn't pleasant. We had good conversation, but to be uninvited, and they said that I make them feel uncomfortable if I was there because there will be other times for debate. It's a holiday. It's a holiday gathering. Who's debating what at a holiday party? I'm very upset with Piscataway. I've been here for years. I normally don't say anything. I was about to leave, but I just had to say that in front of everyone, that this is, you talk about just and being right. I want you to understand that. Now, if that would have happened to you or anyone in your family, how would you feel? To be uninvited because you're a resident first and foremost. Just because I'm thinking about running and haven't really have put the paperwork in, I was uninvited to a party?
Loretta and I are going to be friends now. This is how you bring people together.
And please.
But you're supposed to bring people together. You talked about that today. You talked about, you know, not being separate, but you separate people like that. And
Thank you so much for your time.
Honestly.
Ms. Rivers, your 3 minutes are up.
Well, I just thank you so much and happy holidays to you.
Thank you.
too.
Happy holidays to you. If there's anyone else who'd like to come up to the podium, you may do so at this time. Please state your name and address and note that you have 3 minutes in which to make your comments. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion.
Council President,
Oh, yes, I know.
be
You
very
want to-
remiss not to mention this. We're unfortunate enough, there was a death in retired employee over at the library, Patricia Simons, who was the children's director at the library, worked for the library for more than 35 years, passed away unexpectedly. And I want to give my condolences out on behalf of the council her husband, Tim, and her 4 kids on that. So I just want to make sure everybody knew about that.
Condolences.
Yeah, I don't know that I knew her very well, but she did. Hmm. That's very sad. So we'll be thinking about her family and her children for sure. Thank you for reminding us of that, Mayor. I'll take an offer to adjourn.
Offer.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Talk to y'all.